It's not really. I know people may say it's a tedious process, but it's not actually a tedious process. It is certain measures that have been put in place are just meant to make sure that we seal in some loopholes for fraud. So a person who has just acquired a motor vehicle from another person should have a letter of sale. So when you have bought a vehicle, the person who has sold you that motor vehicle should also give you a letter of sale. If it is a donation, you should have a letter that is stating that this vehicle has been donated to you. Not only that, the seller must provide the buyer a copy of his identity card, that is the NRC. He should give the buyer the copy of his NRC. But of course, we are mindful that there are certain, corporate body, like say maybe it's a company, a human, a person rather, a person at law, which happen to be a company. So in a situation where it is a company selling a motor vehicle, then that company must provide the certificate of registration or incorporation, which is its identity. Apart from that, also the original motor vehicle or trailer registration certificate must be given to the new buyer. That is the white book, which we may call white book. Besides that, you should also ensure that that vehicle is taken to RATSA for physical inspection. Now, this physical inspection, you will only be required to pay 64 kwacha for that physical inspection. One may wonder, say, but why do the physical inspection? We want to be sure that the details that are on the vehicle that you are buying, they are the same as we have them on our system. Apart from that, also there must be a police report from the theft of motor vehicle department to make sure that the vehicle that you are buying is not actually a stolen vehicle,
property,
okay, or maybe a wanted vehicle, something like that. Also the general affidavit. So in this case, the general affidavit will be filled by the buyer. Why? One may say, but why should the buyer fill the affidavit? The buyer is filling that affidavit to state the fact that that is his vehicle, he has bought it, he's a new owner. It may not necessarily require that the person who is selling fills in that general affidavit. Why? Because we have already the information about that person who is selling the vehicle on our system. So the person who is buying is the one who is supposed to fill in the general affidavit. Then we have the change of ownership certificate, which also should be filled in, and the MVR1 form. That form is provided by RATSA, which should be signed by the new owner and the old owner, the person who has just sold the motor vehicle. Besides that, lastly but not the least, the issue of Zambia Revenue Authority tax clearance certificate, specifically for change of ownership of motor vehicle. And the amount that one is required to pay is 476 kwacha only. Then you are done with the process.
So basically, you're talking about 64 kwacha for physical inspection, the 476. Yes, and of course, do we need when someone takes the vehicle for inspection or for that police report, they need to report to pay something?
I want to believe that police, yes, they will be required to pay something. I don't know. I'm not just too sure how much it is in terms
on
of
the police side.
On the police side, yes.
But do these people physically need to be there, or they can delegate for someone to do it? How is the process? Do I need to send somebody, or the seller and the buyer need at some point to appear before your offices at some point, or papers can be delivered or filled in and then brought to your office by a third party?
Yeah,
is that acceptable?
Can be, it's acceptable. You can use someone to assist. Maybe, like you are a busy person, you are here throughout, you are required to be here. So you can ask your brother to do the process, because it's just a matter of you drive the vehicle to RATSA, they do the physical inspection. You drive the vehicle to police, they do the physical inspection also. But the general affidavit, of course, it has to be done by the actual person, because it is a sworn document. Yes.
And no, of course,
the
not
rest of the processes, they can be done by the third party.
And the supporting documents should be in my name as a buyer.
Yes,
all
the
right.
supporting documents, all the supporting documents should be in your name as the buyer.
All right. Thank you for those details in the step by step.
And
then
probably also I should mention that when you are doing these processes, the road tax must be valid, and also the vehicle must be roadworthy.
that's fitness.
That is, yes, the fitness must be valid.
Right. Having collected all those documents, and I'm ready now to make submissions. Which RATSA stations can the public access this service? I know you have dedicated offices around the districts and the cities. Are there any specific RATSA offices that just deal with change of ownership?
Okay, yeah. You can go to any of our RATSA station where they do registration of motor vehicle. Like here in Lusaka, you can go to Lumumba, you can go to Silverest, you can go to Mimosa. But Lumumba specifically being the depository of all our records, usually the change of ownership is normally done at Lumumba. But for those that are in other places, you can go to that RATSA station where, of course, they do the registration of motor, like a provincial headquarters. So you find that where they do the registration of motor vehicles, like you say, you want to have your motor vehicle registered using, or actually I shouldn't say provincial headquarters, but a district. Like say you want a motor vehicle to be registered in Mazabuka. So one can go to Mazabuka there. Someone who is in Mazabuka can present these documents that we've just said, and then the change of ownership can be done. Or you can go to Choma, or maybe you go to Chipata, any of those places where you are, you can process the change of ownership.
Okay. All right, and we are also looking at one other important issue, which also brought a conversation last week. We are looking at if somebody, maybe a vehicle was broken down because the engine has malfunctioned, and one decides to change the engine, but the body is still okay. What is the procedure for change of engine, and the requirements that are involved in the process?
Yeah, basically, the law requires that whenever there's the change of details on your vehicle, you decide to make certain alterations, it must be brought to the attention of the licensing officer. And if that is not done, then it simply means that that person is actually committing an offense, because you are now making the register not to be accurate. Because the registers that we have, or the records that we should keep, should be accurate. And if you do anything that makes our register not accurate, and you've not brought it to our attention, then you have committed an offense. That's why it is important that even when you change your phone, your contact number, when you change your contact number, you should inform the licensing officer, so that they can make those changes from the number that is normal functional to the one that you are currently using. So what will be required there is original motor vehicle registration, so that they can compare. You are saying you have changed the engine number. Then they will compare the original motor vehicle engine and the white book that is there. They will, as they do the physical inspection, they will compare with what was there and the other details that you have introduced, like the engine number, if you have brought in another engine. So those will be verified, inspected, and of course with the supporting documents, because it's not just a matter of saying, okay, my friend has given me maybe a new engine, I'll put it in there. No, it must have supporting documents, because that is the only way we cut out on issues of theft of motor vehicles. Just imagine if it were a situation where any person would get an engine and he put it in his vehicle without following the procedure. So we have a lot of criminal activities surrounding such issues to do with the engine. He gets an engine and put in another vehicle.
So someone
sure
must provide proof of
yes,
purchasing that engine that they need to replace in the new car.
You must provide supporting documents that gives us a traceable source to say the source is legit, is legitimate. That where the documents, I mean the source of your engine is actually a legitimate one. It's not like you just got it from a stolen vehicle. So it must have a supporting document. That's why there's need for the physical inspection report also to be done, which is like I said, even in the other one, the same actually physical inspection, which is 64 kwacha. Equally, the general affidavit must be filled in, and a police report from the anti-theft of motor vehicle for that engine that you have put in your vehicle. But assuming you've just decided to change color, yes, even that change of color must be reported, and the changes that will be done will also follow the same process of a physical inspection of the motor vehicle. You have the motor vehicle inspected, and after that, after all these processes have been done, then the issue of now a color change, meaning the color that you have changed to will now be put on our system, and everything will be okay on your vehicle. But failing which, you proceed to change without indicating without reporting that matter to our to RATSA, then it simply means that you are actually committing an offense. And one may ask you, say, but what is the reason for doing that? If assuming there is a hit and run, the first thing that people will look at is probably the registration number and the color of the vehicle. So they'll say, no, the vehicle that has hit this person is the registration number this, and it is white in color. Now, if on our system we have a different color, that also now brings in some doubts. But could it be this vehicle that this person has seen, or maybe has just made a mistake? Because on our system we have a different color of motor vehicle, and not the one that has just been brought to our attention.
But on the change of color, it's common, it's fashionable now. You see that there are vehicles that are being branded in different sorts of company, corporate brands and things like that. Does that amount doesn't that amount to change of color, because you find that certain vehicles completely change the outlook because they brand it all throughout the vehicle? So do they need to come to RATSA if they are branding in their corporate colors? And
basically, when you brand your vehicle in corporate colors, it simply means that because of those other colors that you have added, there's now the color will not be said to be, say if it were blue, it will not be said to be blue, because you have added in other colors. Therefore it is multiple color, and it should be such should be brought to attention of RATSA. It should be reported, it should be brought to attention of the licensing officer, so that those changes can be made on our system to say the vehicle, the color is multiple. There's not only one color, but there are other colors, and it should be stated as such on our system. But if you decide to do that without, you do not bring it to our attention, and officers find you, then you are in for it. It's an offense, and we have to hold you liable for for that.
And is that being done, and is there any adherence to that fact, or do you even give maybe issue certificates? Because there are so many branded vehicles, maybe people are just moving with them with that knowledge that they are supposed to report to RATSA. How would your officers know that this vehicle that is branded, the original color was white or red, but now is branded in different colors? How do you reconcile that?
How would you reconcile? Because you know we have an app. We have an app where we are able to determine even issues of roadworthiness, issues of road tax, and even the color of the motor vehicle will usually be stated on the app. They are able to access that information to tell, to say, or maybe they check, they see the vehicle, and then they can compare with what is on the system. Maybe on the system it shows that it's only one color, and yet they have seen a multiple color vehicle. Then based on that, they will be able to know, to say, oh, this vehicle is not supposed to have those multiple colors. Therefore, they can follow it and they have the person charged.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, you are watching Road Safety with RATSA, and I have Mr. Peter Mulyata, Legal Officer Prosecution, who's elaborating on change of ownership, which is our topic. Our SMS line is 0978 772 That is 0978 772 and shortly I'll be opening the call lines, and our call line is 0772 832-122. That is 0772-832-122 for you to participate. On our Facebook page, Amos Chipasha writes, and what if the seller is not in the country? Who should sign on his behalf? That is a comment from our Facebook follower. And then we have also a few messages that we can read before we can accommodate callers. All right, good morning. At what point do change of ownership if you buy a non-runner? If you buy a non-runner, at what point do you change ownership? That is coming from Robbie in Choma. And the third one is, good morning. How many days can it take to change ownership of a car? Aton Chipoma in Chisamba. So basically, we are looking at absence of the owner if the owner is out of the country, and then change of ownership if it's a non-runner, and how long does it take to change ownership? Those three questions.
If the owner is outside the country, I'm sure there must be documents authorizing such a transaction. But however, it would just be fair to send those documents to the person. Nowadays, it doesn't take long. If I want some documents signed by someone who is abroad, it's just a few days, maybe within a week, that person would have received the documents and then send them back, and then we do the processes. But however,
so in short, you don't accept electronic documents. You would want original documents.
Yeah,
So if it's a letter of sale, it should be an original document, not a scanned document and sent to the buyer.
Not a scanned document and sent to the buyer. It must be an original document. Yes.
Okay.
Hence, me saying probably the best would be you send those documents to the buyer, then from there, to the seller, then he sends them back so that they are signed. Then in terms of a non-runner, if a vehicle is a non-runner, to say at what point should one do the change of ownership. For non-runners, you can still change ownership even if the vehicle is not on the road. Simply, what you would do is you as long as you have managed to acquire all those documents that I've mentioned, then from there you can request our examination office to come through to your place so that they can examine that vehicle. And upon examination, and they have ascertained all the details that are there, then the change of ownership is effected. So it doesn't really necessarily mean that a change of ownership can only be done when a vehicle is a runner. Even if it is not a runner, you can still process the change of ownership provided all the documents are in place.
All right. And period, how long does it take to change to do or change of ownership? I work on your counters. Can I complete in one day? Do I need to wait for 1 week for clearance, or how long does it take?
Well, to answer this question, it takes, I mean, um, the rate at which the change will be effected is probably the rate at which you are doing things. So if you quickly process, even within a day, these are processes that you can actually manage to finish within a day. Probably by the end of the day, the change of ownership will have been done, provided all the documents are availed to the officers.
Right. Right, our call line is 0772 and we are looking at a change of ownership. If you have a question and you want to participate on this program, please, you can go ahead and make your call. I have a few more messages that we can also take. Just before that, we have a caller on the line, but just a guide that if you're calling us, please make sure that you turn off your radio set or your television set, and then we'll have a conversation. Please go ahead. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
I'm Eric Pikakoma calling from Chiravombwe.
Yes, please. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Thanks for that topic. My question is that, you know, there's on the Mount Kala.
Yes, please go ahead. We are listening.
Yeah, on Mount Kala, there is a vehicle like a Canter. You bought it maybe from China, and everything was cleared there. And there's a Mount Kala, maybe like a blue paper in that vehicle. Now, if you paint it and you replace it the same color, you find the problem from traffic officers or RATSA. That in actual sense, when that vehicle was coming in and it was cleared on the same color, but when you want to paint it again, when the paint is faded, you replace the same color, but you find the problem to the RATSA. What could be the measures from that?
Right. Thank you so much for that contribution. We'll take another caller. If you are on the line, please. You are through to Road Safety with RATSA. Good morning. Good morning. You are through to Road Safety with RATSA. All right. We can squeeze in a message with that from Chida Wombwe. That's basically talking about repenting. Good morning. How many days can we have read this? What step should a person take to ensure that one is not found wanting? I don't know in what angle that question goes to, but let's see if we can get a call on the line.
We'll answer it to say you do the correct thing.
Exactly. Okay, good morning. You are through with to Road Safety with RATSA.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
We are fine, thank you. And how are you?
We are fine also here. This is McLeod calling you from Choma.
From Choma, yes, please.
Yes, I just wanted to find out if the car is painted in multiple colors. Then, when you go to LATSA, does it mean that they also indicate on the white book that it is now multiple color? Because we find that when you buy a car, then they indicate the color of the car on the white book. So does it mean that also they change the color when you change also the color in multiple?
All right, that is thank you so much for your contribution. Maybe you can make comments on those two which look similar. I think it's basically one is repainting, maybe may not find the equivalent paint, and indication of the multiple color as a category of paint. But just before that, we have a call on the line. Good morning. You are through to Road Safety with RATSA. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And your name and your contribution to the program.
Okay, my name is Anton Mugala. I'm calling from Lusaka.
Yes, please. Go ahead with your contribution, Mr. Mugala.
Yes, on the side of ownership, I also purchased a vehicle, of which I just realized the engine number was actually different from the one that is on the white book. Let's say it's a Toyota Corolla, which initially came with a 4A engine, and then the owner had changed and put in a 5A. So that I only realized after I purchased the vehicle and after some time. So in such a case, when I want to do change of ownership, what can happen?
All right, thank you, Mr. Muliata. We'll respond to those three questions and the text message before we take another caller. So if you are reaching us, please hold on with your calls. Let's see if Mr. Muliata can make comments to those three questions that have come through.
Okay. In terms of multiple multiple color, you know, and when the vehicle is imported, you said the vehicle comes in the country and then maybe
The paint fades and
then you decide to make it look nice. Basically, as long as you are picking the same color, it means there is nothing that has changed there. But if the color was blue, then you decide to add in red and other colors that are different from what
the original color was.
then you are actually making those changes which should be noted. But if the repainting and at the time when because the whole purpose of doing the physical inspection is to take note of all such issues. So all such issues will be noted, that the color is multiple color or the major color being this color. So those issues will be taken note of. Now, if at the time of repainting and you feel, well, my color, there was a green, I think if I add green, it will look nice and whatnot, you add other colors that were not there, then probably that's where you would have a problem. But if the colors that are there and the prominent color is, because usually there will be a prominent color on the vehicle and the prominent color is noted and then though multiple, then surely I don't see any problem if it is ready and you make some touch up on ready to just make it look good. I don't see any problem with that.
All right, just as a rider, before we get to the different engines, what should happen if I need to change a color? Do I first report to you that I need to change a color, or after I've changed my color, then I come to you? Aren't we doing things in reverse? Why can't a client first maybe seek authority from RATSA to indicate that I need to change the color of my motor vehicle? Then otherwise, I paint, then I've landed into trouble. That's when I'm. Don't you think it's supposed to be the other way around?
Yeah, actually, what should happen is, because before you even effect that change of color, you must probably, you must write to the director that you intend to change color of your motor vehicle to this color. Then at that point, once a response is given, then you go ahead to effect the change of color, and then you take it for inspection with those supporting documents that the correspondences that were that went on.
All right.
That way you find that you are covered. There won't be any issues of saying, but this color, this and that. No, it won't be there, because you have stated, you have made it known to the director that you intend to change color, and this is the color that you want. And then once you are given a go ahead, you paint, and then you take the vehicle for physical inspection. It is inspected, and all those issues are noted on our system.
All right, and on the precautions on the engine, where you buy a vehicle,
Yes, then the other one I had also mentioned of the color, something in line with the color. Yes, these colors usually they are noted. That's why we carry out the physical inspection. So they are noted on our system. Then the change of ownership, when like this one who said he bought
a 3A engine and then just realized that the engine is 5A,
different from
what was on the original documents.
Yeah, so that in itself is a problem. There's a serious problem there, and you should quickly attend to it, because if officers will meet him, then it will be a different scenario altogether, a serious problem that it is. So he should make sure that he collects all the supporting document to that engine. For that engine that was put there, it must have supporting documents, because like I said earlier, you cannot just get an engine from anywhere, from without. You just get that engine and put it in your vehicle and say, oh, I've changed the engine, I've now this type of engine. No, it should have, that engine, even much as you change, it should have supporting documents.
But he bought it from somebody.
Yeah, so that somebody must have provided him with the supporting document for that engine, to say, I changed the engine, I bought it with this engine, and I changed the engine, and the supporting documents for the engine that I changed, these are the documents. So you can, as you do the change of ownership, make sure also you do the change of details.
Is it just that maybe because it's very rare that I'm stopped on a red by a spot check to verify what details are on my vehicle, and are they corresponding with the white book, and again rarely we don't move with general with our white books in the vehicle. So isn't that the reason that maybe people don't take it seriously to make sure that they have these documents, these details updated on your system?
Yes, true. You know, basically what it is, you know, every year we take our vehicles for fitness. So as you take your vehicle for fitness, the officers will not just look at the vehicle and they say, oh, the tires, they are okay, oh, it has a fire extinguisher, or there's a spare wheel. No, they'll also go, they will have that printout which you will have presented to them. So they will compare what is there on the printout with what is with the physical details on the motor vehicle.
Exactly.
And it is at that point that we would not say, no, this vehicle, the details that are on that vehicle are different from what is on our system. And as a result, they may not proceed to give you the service that you require. And at that point, we may even impound the motor vehicle.
All right. Okay, let's see if we can. This is Mr. Chris K. Tamtili. I have a white book, is a Facebook follower. I have a white book and a letter of sale from the second owner who did not change ownership. Apparently, the first owner is not available. What do I do on the letter of sale? Another message on our Facebook follower, on our Facebook page, is a change of ownership with red books for returning students or diplomats. Can one purchase that vehicle? Maybe we can also take some message from our SMS line. Would you advise buying a car which is rebranded with the color or has a new engine but not updated by Ratsa? Moses Piri from Chasefu. Another message is, how many days we've read this and taken note of that. What if one purchases a motor vehicle from a former diplomat under Red Book? What is the procedure of change of ownership? In the same line with Mr. Chris Hamutili. Maybe you can make comments before we accommodate a caller.
Okay. There was a comment on returning student, whether someone can buy such a vehicle. Because, you know, that vehicle was imported in, was brought into the country without paying duty because of the waiver. So in such a situation, there are conditions that are attached to such a vehicle. One, it has to be registered for a period of more than 5 years, for 5 years. So if the vehicle has not clocked 5 years, you cannot dispose it. Or if you decide to sell it, then it simply means that the person to whom you have sold it will still maintain that same book, because no one is going to allow him to do the change of ownership unless he decides to go and pay duty for that vehicle. So if he decides to say, oh, instead of waiting for 5 years, I think I need this vehicle, I'm happy with this performance and I like it, then he can go to ZRA, pay duty for that vehicle which was brought in the country without paying duty, so that the changes can be done. But without paying duty, then it simply means that he has to wait for stipulated period.
All right. This person has a letter of sale from the second owner who did not change ownership. Maybe, as
for
we
those
are winding up.
A situation where I buy a vehicle from this person who bought it from another person, and then it so happened that along the way the other person there's no letter of sale. But because in any case, to start with, before one decides to buy a vehicle, there must be that letter of sale. So the person who is buying should be sure that, oh, this vehicle, I'm told this guy, it is not in his name. It is not in his name. He bought it from another person. So that person from whom he bought that vehicle should have presented
a letter of sale.
So that letter of sale should be there. But I must also warn members of the public, because we've come across situations where there's actually a case which is going on in court, where we managed to nab someone who was making these fake letters and even fake they present documents. They know maybe the vehicle was a salvage. It was bought from an insurance. They originate a fake letter, and then they present such letters to our office. But however, we managed to bust that. The people that were involved in such activities since appearing in court.
Okay.
So we must be careful. Even when a person tells you to say, no, I'm selling this vehicle, that's why we talk of a physical inspection. So you must make sure that the vehicle is taken to theft of motor vehicle and also to RATSA for physical inspection. And these are the issues that we avoid.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, and the last one is on the conversion of white book or blue book. Would you just elaborate briefly before we close the program?
The conversion of
white book, and important to the public to know if someone wants to conversion of a white book, maybe from one owner to another.
Basically, well, maybe what I can say is that it is very important for members of the public or vehicle owners to know that when you bought a vehicle, you must ensure that it is changed into your, the details are changed into your names, you as the new buyer. Because if you don't do that, then you are creating a problem for yourself, and even assuming you answer go this call, and you leave problems behind because you are the one who know how you bought that vehicle, and all the documents, probably you are the only one who know who should go to in order to get those documents that are required. So it's important that whenever you buy a vehicle, immediately you buy it, facilitate the change of ownership. Sometimes you end up buying a vehicle from someone who is crooked, and because you are taking long to do the change of ownership, he will come back and claim the vehicle and say, no, you didn't finish paying. That's why up to now I've not authorized you to do the change of ownership.
All right. I have to let you go now, but we are in midweek. What is a call for motorists on our roads as we get into the weekend as well?
Okay, yeah, I just want to encourage members of the public, that motorists, that as we approach the weekend, please take care, drive safely, observe the speed limits. They are meant for your safety. So you should not only reduce simply because you've seen that there's a traffic officer or there's a RATSA vehicle nearby. Therefore, you start reducing speed. Control yourself. Be your own regulator. And if you do that, then you drive happily and safely on these roads.
I'd like to thank you for coming.
Sure.
I hope to see you again next week.
Thanks for having me. Please, thank you so much.
All right, we come to the end of road safety with RATSA, and we continued with our program, Change of Ownership. Thank you so much for your contributions and your participation, but look forward for yet another exciting topic next week on Wednesday. So on behalf of the production team and my guest, Mr. Peter Muliata from RATSA, my name is Julius Musmali. Remember, the blue light keeps watching you.
Continue watching Parliament TV, a station that is dedicated to bring Parliament closer to you.
This month, we're cooking up a storm. King Katumba spices it up as he sets his sights on the villages of Ubuntu. Then, secrets and hidden agendas are a melting pot for chaos in Pali. And we join our favorite hostesses who stir up a blend of exciting conversations. Then Sita's marriage ambition leaves everyone a little steamed. And music legends serve up their most exciting memories in music. And the royal clique turns up the heat and fires up the industry. We've got the recipe for the best local entertainment on Zambezi Magic. Channel 162 on DSTV, Channel 5 on GoTV.
I have decided to name a new heir. I'm your heir. Dragons. A power man should never have trifled with. War is afoot.
Knives will come out. They see you as you are.
I need a favor. So almost 300 people still missing.
For the next 5 days, the three of us was inseparable.
Johan is like the Incredible Hulk.
Zambia. Even saying the word is a multi-sensory experience. It somehow captures something of the essence of this special place in the warm heart of southern Africa.